It's good.
It's not loud in here.
I use the analogy of a trapeze artist that swings on one swing until it's time to let go of that one, and then turns, lets go of that swing, and grabs the next swing. And I pointed out that whatever energy we're in when we release a swing is the same energy we pick up with on the next swing. And so we intentionally left our old location in a spirit of gratitude and great thanksgiving. And so I would like to invite you to join me in the very same song that we close that service with to open our first one here today. Thank you, God, for everything. 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 Standing, stand. Thank you, God, for everything. 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 Let's take it inside and whisper. Thank you, God, for everything. 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 Please join me in knowing this morning. With a heart absolutely overflowing with gratitude, I give great thanks for this day, for this sacred group of people that have gathered here to bless this holy space that we are now calling our spiritual home, for this morning that has greeted us with light and love and joy. And I know that as we experience our time together this morning, that each and every one is blessed with exactly what they need in this moment. And I am so grateful. And let us sing one more time. Thank you, God, for everything. 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 You may be seated. Wow, it is so awesome to see so many faces. I'm so glad you came home today. Welcome home. We made it. 2 months ago we signed a lease here, and through all this time since then we have been pouring our love and our intention and energy into creating this space. I really just thought my heart would burst this morning. But I really just had no idea what today would feel like, and it feels so very beautiful. I'm Lane Morgan. I'm blessed to serve as the senior minister of this community, and I may be standing up here in the front of this beautiful room by myself, but I do not stand alone in the leadership of this community. And I would ask you to please indulge me with a few moments of gratitude, and the community with a few moments of gratitude this morning. Just to pause for a second and thank some people that helped make this morning a possibility. I want to first thank the 2018 and the 2019 Board of Trustees. We held a vision, we held it, and we took it to today. A special thanks to Barley. Jane Keys is not here this morning, but thanks to her and to Barley for being the presidents during those 2 years of creativity and decision making. I also want to thank the building committee. There are many of you, all of you probably are in the room this morning. who searched and searched for the right and perfect place, and here we are today. So if you see anybody on the board of the building committee, please join them. And I want to thank my wife. And I want to bring Becky up. I do. I want you to. You are in her vision. She led the project team that helped us pick colors and fabrics and chairs and carpet and paint and everything. And she held us together and led us, and I know that she has a lot of people that she would like to name and thank as well, so I'll let you do that.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Right here today. Oh, sorry. Wow. What a crazy, productive, tiring, and yes, fun these last few weeks have been. I personally enjoyed the time spent with these incredible folks and feel like the adhesive that we used in the course of these weeks also bound together some great solid friendships. Laughter was abundant, but so was the need for doses of ibuprofen. We were all out of our element, but the bottom line is we worked as a unit, and we're sitting here today. I absolutely have to publicly thank, and I wish you all would stand as I call your name, Sally Galloway and Brianna, Ellen Fenner and Nancy Ladbush, Susan Clark, Deb Rebuck, she may not be here, Michelle Germain and her son Graham, Martin Spencer, Chuck Rose, Humphrey Cook, Donna McCauley, Vicki Ryan, Kathy Guchner, Judy Taylor Foss, Jane Keys, who's not here today, Keith Rohde and his friend Christy, Lori Shipwright, Teresa Testa, you help too. Lori Salvador and Lane Morgan. If I missed anyone else, I apologize, but everyone who came for any amount of time and helped complete this project made it happen. I believe it was well worth every bead of sweat, every aching muscle, and every trip to Home Depot. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No, don't go far. This is both symbolic and literal. We have most of us signed a card for Becky, and I'd like to read what it says. Becky, thanks for generously sharing your valuable time, incredible talents, and precious treasures, creating our new spiritual home. If you did not get to sign it, I have markers with me. Make sure you come take care of that. Everyone she mentioned had a part in making this place be what it is today, but she led the charge. She really did. This is what has been in your heart all along. So, because Home Depot is
A little bit of Lowe's, but
this is a gift card for you to spend on something you love. So,
yeah.
okay. Not
Thank
for
you.
here,
No,
but for
it's
home.
okay. It's good. Thank you, Marla.
we'll really start the service now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Sunshine in my eyes can make me cry. Sunshine on the water looks so lovely. Sunshine almost always makes me high. If I had a day that I could give you, I would give a day just like today. And if I had a song that I could sing for you, I would sing a song to make you feel this way. Sunshine, oh sweet sunshine, la 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 la. Almost always makes me sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Sunshine almost always makes me
Growing up in Colorado, there was no one like John Denver. So I couldn't think of a happier song to sing this morning. So thank you, Cheryl, for indulging me in my favorite song. We are a community that welcomes you wherever you are on your path to spirituality and to knowing God. We're a center that welcomes everyone, and we celebrate diversity in every form. So welcome home. We're all about promoting greater self-love through waking up and being conscious of who you are as a divine being. And we're so very glad that you came to wake up with us. If you're visiting for the first time, and I know there are several of you in the room who are, if you didn't pick up your Science of Mind magazine in the lobby, then please do that. We want to send that home with you. It's a way for us to give you a taste of this teaching and how we practice and know about the divine. And it's a great read, and this teaching has inspired hundreds of thousands of people to live better lives. And so, you know, it's changed my life, and I know that it can change others' lives, and that's what we're all about. A couple special people in the room this morning that I want to acknowledge. First of all is Reverend Carol O'Connell is here. Thank you so much for being here. She is a phenomenal spiritual leader and has been that way for decades. She was one of my early teachers in Atlanta at Unity, and I love her, and I'm so honored that you're here. Thank you so much. I want to let you know that in my rush this morning, I left it on my printer, but Reverend Susie Shadle, who served as the interim minister before my arrival, did send an email to congratulate us and help us celebrate this morning with us. And so she promises to visit in the near future. She's down at Unity in Sarasota now, and she sends her love. I also want to read a really quick card. When we get these cards, I like to read them. This one says, to Reverend Lane and the entire CSL TV woohoo community. It says, congratulations on behalf of the leadership corps and community of CSL Cape Coral. We wish to extend our support of you as you move to your new spiritual home. We are so excited for you and hold that your highest and best is unfolding with grace and ease. I am looking forward to my October visit. Much love, Reverend Shell. So Reverend Shell is one of my colleagues who I adore, and we're gonna swap pulpits in October. I'm gonna go down and do her center, and she's gonna come up in here to ours. So I read that in representation of the whole CSL community around the world knows what's up for us this morning. They are very excited for us and thrilled that we are stepping into this bigger expression in Tampa and continuing to expand the teachings of Ernest Holmes in this part of the world. So we're not alone. There are a lot of people praying for us this morning and knowing this exciting time is perfect. Our practitioner of the day is Randy Sutherland. Yeah, he's going to be sharing an affirmative prayer in a moment and a reading. And the car that's in the practitioner on duty space today is Randy's, and while others will take turns parking there, that space was created in honor of Randy for his endless hours of dedication to our online media, social media presence. He does a phenomenal job, and I know there's a little team that's gathering around helping him, but all the posts that you see, all the memes, all of that, Randy Sutherland. So I love him, and I'm very happy. And our musician this morning that you have already heard is my friend, Cheryl Chandler. And I'll talk more about Cheryl in a little bit, but for now, she's down from Atlanta to share her extraordinary voice with us. It's fitting that she's here today. You may or may not have been a part of our first service in the Blind Tiger over in Ybor City, but Cheryl came down for my first talk and did the music that Sunday too. So she's kind of like at pivotal points. I beckoned her down to be with me for music. So I'm really, really glad you're here. We've come a long way, haven't we? Yeah. So anyway, where two or more are gathered, there will always be announcements, and Randy is also our announcement guru. So come entertain us and fill us with lots and lots of information. And while you come up, let me explain what's around his neck, because this, again, a lot of you are not here a lot. So each of these ribbons is woven together, and each one symbolizes one of our practitioners. So they all picked a ribbon that meant something to them, and we wove them together to create this stole so that we know that whoever the practitioner is on duty is representing the whole corps. So if that, you wonder what that crazy necklace is, okay.
You know, as I look at some of these, I wonder what they were thinking when they picked them. Well, good morning to all of you. It is so good to see you. You know, when I got up this morning and I got in my car to come here, I realized I had to drive a different way. Because if I did not, I would be at a place where none of you would be. And it also reminded me that in the very short history of this community, we have been very well traveled. We have been in homes and hotels. We have been in elementary school auditoriums and high school libraries and coffee shops, which a Blind Tiger, that was my absolute favorite. But when I stepped in here, I had to say that I do believe that we have come home, and this is our home, and it is magnificent. And because you cannot come to church or any kind of congregation without announcements, I have quite a few I'd like to share with you. Well, of course, welcome to the new space, and there are some logistics I would like for all of you to know a little bit about because it's different than what we had before. Now, each Sunday, coffee will be served in the fellowship hall, which is directly behind you, before service. You may bring beverages with lids into the sanctuary, but don't bring food. No pasta with marinara sauce or anything like that. But because we cannot meet as a spiritual body without eating, there will be food served after the service. And everyone is, of course, always welcome to bring their own treats. There will be other things there. You can drop them in the kitchen, and the hospitality team will put them out when you come for service. And we hope afterwards you will either eat all of them or take them with you. Parking is always a consideration. I know in many of the places that we have been, parking was always something that I wonder about. But we have a lot of parking here. We have parking in front of this building, and there is also overflow parking to the west, which is that way. There's a large lot there. You can park there, and you could walk on the sidewalk to come through here. So if you're a late arrival, you may not be able to park at the door, but you will be able to park not far away. Books. There's a very large bookshelf in the fellowship space, and this is going to be our lending library. And we are encouraging all of you to donate books to it, so that if you have read a spiritually related book that was meaningful to you, perhaps you'd like to share it with others. So you can bring it, and there will be a box outside Reverend Lane's office where you can donate it, and it will then appear on the shelf for someone else to borrow and also to profit from. Mark your calendars for our very first after-service fellowship gathering, since we have this large fellowship space and we have an actual kitchen as well. We will be celebrating I'm reading the Cinco de Mayo, which will be a catered lunch and concert, and this will be on May 5th. So you can hang out for an hour or so after the service, and that will give us a chance to break in the gathering space. It will be wonderful. There are tables there. You can drop food on the floor that you didn't get to drop in here in this sanctuary. So please mark your calendars for that and plan to be with us on that day. Also coming in May, Reverend Lane's long-anticipated modern mysticism class will be taking place. Go ahead. If you're looking to take your spirituality beyond Sunday morning, this is a great place to start, to take your soul's journey to a deeper level. And this will likely be a perfect class for many of you, so for many of you to sign up for it. Reverend Lane is a very wonderful teacher, as many of you already know, so this will be a great time. This will be taught on Monday evenings in May, and will include a half-day retreat on Saturday, June 1st. So there will be flyers and registration available next Sunday, and you can also see Reverend Lane if you have any questions about that. Now, this organization works to empower. Okay, wait a minute. Sorry about that. We are a community that likes to give back. As many of you know, we tithe a portion of our proceeds each quarter to a worthy organization in the Tampa Bay area. And this quarter, the recipient of this tithe is Community Tampa Bay. This organization works to empower and mentor youth leadership, stressing the value of diversity and inclusion right here in Tampa. There are brochures about Community Tampa Bay on the welcome table in the foyer, so if you'd like to know more, pick up one of those and read it. In May, we will also be doing an art supply drive for this organization, so start saving your magazines, stickers, markers, glue sticks. I know many of you like to color. You probably have coloring books that you could donate. And these can also be donated to them. Now, if you're interested in volunteering with this organization, please see Deb Rebuck, and she will be able to connect you with them. Now, if you participated in the Magic Carpet Ride fundraiser, you might want to stick around after the service, because those of you who donated to this, you'll be entered into a drawing. The drawing will be happening today. Do you have to be present to win?
No, there's more fun.
So please join us afterwards. That's when the drawing will take place, and we will see who gets to go to Reverend Lane's cabin in the mountains for a 4-night stay. It's in North Carolina. So that is certainly going to be a wonderful prize for somebody, and it could very well be you. Okay, before I turn this back over to Reverend Lane, I want to remind you that if you have a prayer request or would like to communicate with us, your contact information or other information, please use the connection card in your program, and these will be going into the offering basket towards the end of the service. I could say more, but I won't. I'll turn it back over to Reverend Lane.
So every week at this point in our service, we come together as a spiritual community in a unifying experience. These unifying experiences are inside your program. And before we do our experience this morning, I want to draw your attention to the evidence of another unifying experience that we had several months ago. On the altar, you will see our vase of sand. And many of you poured sand into this vase. This vase was created at my installation service in March, and members of the community that were present for that each poured a layer of colored sand in there. This vase has lived in my living room, as I promised that night, until this day. And today it moves to where it belongs and where it will stay. So thank you for all the sand that is there, and for being the unifying force that maybe started on that day, but ended up here in this moment. So for now, I'm going to light the flames of faith, and then I will talk about them. We will honor the flames of faith. And as we do that, I want to remind you, if you didn't come in through the foyer, there's a beautiful symbol of faith and our reverence to all walks to God. And the quilt that hangs there was created by one of my friends in Atlanta, just to welcome us home. So please take a look at that when you leave. So we perform this Flames of Faith ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings, come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we have lit 10 candles to honor here today. The first candle we light for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. The second candle is for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light a candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The fourth candle is for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. the candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of passion. The sixth candle is for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle is for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. And we light the candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle is lit for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And whichever candle you designate as the 10th candle, it is lit as the healing candle. So I invite you to please put silently into this light the name of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love. And so it is.
Before I do this next song, I want to publicly thank Tim. I know he's been with y'all a couple of times before, but when I found out that Lane wanted me to come be here today, I don't play, I sing. So I got in touch with Tim and asked him to come, and I was grateful that today was open for him. I've known him for quite a long time. We met at Unity of Clearwater when I used to live here, and I sang in the band over there. And he's an instrumental part of the music program. Several weeks ago, I sent him a list of songs. This is what I'm thinking about. Got in touch with Reverend Lane. I ran them through her, and she's like, whatever you need, it'll fall into place. And it always does. Except this song. Not the one I'm singing, but the one that I had on the list for this space. I couldn't get into it. Every time I tried to practice it, nothing was there. I couldn't feel it. So today's Sunday. So on this past Monday, I got in touch with Tim, and I said, we're changing plans. I need a different song. You've probably never heard it sung this way. Here's a YouTube video. Play it on Sunday.
That actually happened.
So the reason that I selected this song that I'm about to sing is because while I was rehearsing that other song, I would stop and I'd get on my phone and I would do something else, look at an email or whatever, and then I would go to a note, and this note pops up. And it says, God does not need our success. God needs our surrender. Oh, that's nice. Go about my day, go about my way. The next time I rehearsed it, I picked up my iPad, was doing something else, and I mistakenly hit my notes thing, and that's the first one that pops up. Okay, God, I'm getting it. I read it again. That's a nice phrase. It popped up 7 times on various different places. My computer, my phone, my iPad. I have a little sticky note that says it on my desk. Right, slaps me in the face. So I switched the song to something that meant something to me. Many of you who grew up in churches, I grew up in Southern Baptist Church, have heard this song before, probably not how I'm going to sing it, but God doesn't need your success in this building, in your class, in your practitioner studies, in your life. God needs your surrender. All to Spirit I surrender. All my soul I freely give. I will ever love and trust God in its presence daily live. And I surrender all.
invite you to join me in knowing this. The one Spirit, creator of all things, the power that gives life to all. I know that this Spirit, this wonderful creative essence, is with us here right now, in this time and in this place. And I know that each one of us is a channel for God, for that Spirit that creates all things. And it is through God that each one of us has contributed to the creation of this new beginning, this new expression of this wonderful community. And I know that this power, this Spirit, this essence, as we have opened our hearts and minds to it, it flows through us and it expresses as us here in this place and as this community. And I know that as this power has brought forth all of these wonderful expressions of community, of spirit, of wisdom, of joy, right here in this place, I know that this is as it should be, that this is what I and each one of us have created. And knowing this, I am grateful that God has shown up in this way, that this divine Spirit has created all of these things. And knowing this, I can release this treatment into the mind of the one, knowing that its good and perfect work has been done already, and so it is.
Oh, to Spirit, I surrender in this holy moment now. Worldly troubles all forsaken, use me, Spirit, use me now. And I surrender all. I surrender all to Thee, my precious Savior. I surrender all. I surrender all.
I was asked to select a reading that was related to this new beginning that we have begun here. And one of the first things that came to mind was this passage. It's from a short story by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It's called The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. If you're not familiar with it, with the short story, or the movie starring Brad Pitt, it's about this person who was born a very old man, and then he proceeds to grow younger each day until he becomes a tiny child. Very interesting story, kind of uncharacteristic for Fitzgerald, but there was a part of it in there, a passage that really spoke to me and I think speaks to this. In here, Benjamin Button says, "For what it's worth, it's never too late, or in my case, too early, to be whoever you want to be. There's no time limit. Start wherever you want. You can change or stay the same. There are no rules to this thing. We can make the best or the worst of it. I hope you make the best of it. I hope you see things that startle you. I hope you feel things you never felt before. I hope you meet people who have a different point of view. I hope you live a life you're proud of. And if you're not, I hope you have the courage to start all over again. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Nice reading. So I'm going to do something that I've not done in a while. Cheryl and I have sung this song several times. And typically, we sing it kind of directed to each other. But today, I sing it to all of you. Something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
You're gonna need more than one box.
I really don't do that very often. And I'm not quite sure why I added it to my plate this morning. However, thank you, Cheryl, for singing this song with me again. You know, Cheryl and I have been friends for over 35 years. And when you've been in another person's life that long, you're certainly and definitely changed by the experience. And actually, if I give anyone credit for my spiritual awakening, Cheryl deserves kind of a big chunk of that, because she was the very first person I ever knew who found the science of mind. And although at the time I wasn't very interested in hearing about it, once I found it for myself, we started talking about spiritual topics, and we've really never stopped, have we? You know, we talk and grow through life experience after life experience, and we always keep God as our perspective. And I trust her with my deepest life, and I have definitely been changed for the good for this very long journey that we've had together. But I don't think it has to do with longevity. I believe that each and every person that comes into our lives crosses our paths for our good. Each person is a teacher, and every one of them is also a student. And each one is an expression of God drawn into your experience for your good, for your growth, for your betterment. And I truly believe that, and I encourage you to look at everyone that way as well. You know, life twists and turns. And along the way, you know, people kind of pop into your experience just kind of in your circumstances just perfectly. And, you know, someday when we're evolved enough, we'll be able to look at each and every one of them and welcome them in, just kind of curious as to what they're bringing to our lives, to our lessons, and to our good. You know, sometimes when I meet a new person, or perhaps sometimes when a connection that I have with someone, you know, just kind of takes a deeper dive, I wonder, what have I been praying for that brought this situation or this person into my life in a different way? You know, what have I been seeking to learn or expand or release, for that matter, that I've drawn this person in to help me create that or help me step into that? And when I ask those kinds of questions, I can get curious and open to whatever the person is bringing. By asking those kinds of questions, I acknowledge that every relationship, no matter how seemingly insignificant it may be, is divine and on purpose. And I acknowledge that no matter how painful or challenging a person can be, they are here for my good. And so I wanted to sing that song to you, my spiritual family, this morning, because I know that you and you and you and you and all of you are in my life for my betterment, for my blessing, for my good. You changed me, you evolved me, you are teaching me to be a better me and a better minister and a better leader, week by week, month by month, moment by moment. And I know that that is reciprocal, because that's how Spirit works. My good cannot stand alone, separate from your good, right? We may not always experience each other as easy, but our relationship is holy and blessed, and I call forth that, especially when we show up with each other and we give ourselves an opportunity to do our work together. You might ask, but what is our work? What are you talking about, Lane? In my perspective, our work in this lifetime is to free ourselves from any false limitations that we have placed on ourselves. See, every one of us have had experiences, often very young, but sometimes just yesterday. We have experiences that happen every day that cause us to doubt our magnificence. They cause us to forget our divine nature and cause us to play small. And in the face of these hard experiences, we develop a false story about ourselves. It's not true. A story that we are somehow wounded and damaged and unworthy, and we're separate from other human beings, and We must somehow protect ourselves in the world as we move about. Does any of that sound familiar to you? Maybe it's just me. But anyway, our work is to start to remember who we really, really are. Our work is to find our soul tribe, to find those people that can help us wake up from the illusion that we are separate. And remember that we're part of the one. Divine in every way, powerful beyond measure. Our work is to find the courage to open up our closed off hearts and allow the love to flow in and out as it was created to express. That's our work. That work is to return to love, to return to God, to return to our inherent nature of goodness and fearlessness. That's our work. And when we find our spiritual tribe, when we find each other, we're in a safe place to do our work with other people. And it's in this group that we can let the walls around our heart begin to crumble and fall. We can let go of those protective beliefs and fears. And starting with a spiritually supportive setting, we can have a taste of what it is like to fully love ourselves and let ourselves be seen. To try our fearlessness and our magnificence on for size. And the more diverse our community is, the more expansive the opportunity is to relate to a wider sense of community and humanity. So each and every person that I meet here is to allow me to do my work in relationship with them. That's why diversity, which is our theme for the month, is such a high value to me and a high value to our center. It is only in the appreciation of diversity that we can appreciate everything that we are inside of ourselves. So we have a book of the month every month, and this month the author of the book is Tracy Brown, and she's a colleague of mine and I know and love her very much, and she wrote this. Ignoring the beauty and value and uniqueness of different types of people is equivalent to ignoring God as it shows up as humanity. We don't do that with dogs. We don't do that with flowers or trees or clouds or spices or nature or art. So why should we do it with humans? Right? So the more beings we can embrace into our hearts, the bigger our hearts can become. And our hearts remain small when we keep so much of ourselves, because whatever's in the other is really in ourselves. And if we're pushing that out there beyond the circle of our acceptability and love, then we're limiting the size of our hearts. We're limiting our flow. But I haven't always had this spiritual perspective. I've just kind of developed it through my whole life, including my childhood. So I'll share with you that right here today in this new spanking clean center with fresh paint smell and carpet and all that, I feel right at home because I moved a lot as a child. I moved a lot. I went to 10 different schools as a child, and if you add in colleges, it goes to 14, okay? So we moved constantly. You know, moving is kind of exciting for me. You know, I just love this fresh beginning. So as I said, today is really cool. Change is good as far as I'm concerned. I like change. And all of that moving and changing taught me so much. It taught me a lot. Almost every single time we moved to a new house, I changed schools. I didn't go a whole year in a school, much less more than one. And now see, when I was very, very young, I didn't know any better, and I just thought that was so much fun. You know, I just moved with joy and excitement, and I would just rush around and find my new room in the new house, and I would, with great anticipation, I would just place everything and try to make it feel like me, kind of like what I did here. And I would search the blocks for the children, like, where are my friends? I know I'm going to find my friends, and I would just look around till I find one. And I would always find a new best friend pretty quickly. Probably because I'm an extrovert and really darn talkative. Anyway, as I got older, I started getting attached to friends and to teachers and to situations, and moving got tougher. You know, the lessons got bigger. And as my attachments grew stronger and more intense, I began to resist the moves. I began to resent my father and his stupid job, right? I began to make the moves about someone else. This is about my dad. I'm just being dragged along through the process. It was somebody else that was happening, somebody else's motivations. It had nothing to do with me. All I wanted was familiarity. All I wanted was my friends and my activities. And I began to doubt whether I could recreate a sense of belonging and acceptance again. I began to see myself as different from the new faces around me, especially when I was 12. We moved from Colorado in this little Mayberry kind of town, a rural, tiny town in northern Florida, very backward and weird, I'll just say it. So instead of loving my new room in that move, I despised it. The school in that little town was underfunded. There were only 800 kids, kindergarten through 12. So, yeah, they didn't have anything. And all the things that gave me joy, like band and Girl Scouts and roller skating and having friends on the block, that little town had none of that, none of it. They were just nowhere. So it took me a long time to accept that particular move. And if I'm really honest, I probably never really accepted it, but as a result, I began to shut down and I began to tell myself my own personal version of that story of I don't belong, I'm separate, this is not working for me. And then my soul was off on its journey to begin doing its work, to re-find myself, to find that center again. So with a spiritual perspective now, I can look back and see what I learned about moving and changing. I learned that wherever you go, there you are, right? You know what I mean? You know, your personality and what I call your magic suit, it goes with you wherever you go. It carries your spirit, your inner essence into new settings. And I would decide, like, okay, at the next school, I would not get in trouble for talking too much, right? At the next best friend, I wouldn't be so bossy and I would share better, right? With the new room, I would keep it neater and all that, and the reality was I was pretty much the same person wherever I went, right? But it wasn't until I started telling myself a different story about myself that I showed up differently. My inner world created my outer world experiences. See, my resistance and my adolescent hormonal general crappiness is what made that last move really hard, really. It wasn't the small town in Florida and all the lack of everything fun that made it hard. It was my internal world that made whatever was out there really hard. So I really did find out eventually that your thoughts create your experience, and now I teach that, but it took me a while to figure that out. I also learned this. As long as I was blaming change on someone else, I could never truly benefit from the change. As long as I was pushing it away and making it not about me, I couldn't grow from it. It wasn't until I realized that my good was never left out of the equation, until I realized that my soul had also brought this situation into being for my benefit and for other people's benefits, including my father and his stupid job, right? That I could expand into the new circumstance and grow from it. I had to learn to stop playing like I was a passive passenger in my life and realize that I was part of the creative process and that my experience would be whatever I would make it to be. I also learned about the law of attraction because through all the moving that I did, I could look back and I could see that as I marched around those new city blocks expecting to find my new best friend, then Joan or Susie or Audrey would just kind of show up almost magically, right? As I developed the anticipation of finding my new best teacher, then Mrs. Hill or Mr. Surrency or Miss Hook would just show up, right? But on the flip side, when I began to see myself as separate, when I began to see myself as not fitting in, then somehow I blocked that good from easily showing up. Again, my thoughts created my experience. But if I go back to my original point was that everyone crosses your life and is doing so for your benefit. And when I look at that, I can look at each of the people that were a part of my experiences, even as a child, and know that they showed up at the right and perfect time to be a part of my lessons and to be a part of my growth. If, as I asserted, I was here in this magic suit to learn the lesson of oneness, then I needed each experience to teach me a different aspect of that. You know, I needed each child along the way to play their role in helping me understand a feeling of belonging and that feeling of separateness, because to understand a thing, you often have to look at a thing from several different perspectives. I needed the bullying experiences, but I also needed the bestie friend experience. I needed the new teachers that just loved me instantly, and the ones that thought I didn't really learn the concept very well in the last school and I was just being difficult. I needed each crush, and I needed each rejection, each hard relationship and each easy one. And all of them had value to my soul, even though on a human level I was judging each one as either good or bad. See, what we do is we want to cling to one kind of person. We want to cling to that easy person and keep them forever in our lives. You know, if I loved and cherished an experience with someone, I'm known, I'm a lifelong loyal friend, right? And sometimes the person does decide to stay around, like Cheryl did. But others that I have cherished are not in my life at this moment and have abandoned me. And there's just another lesson in that, right? And then there are those kinds of people that you just want to push away. You're like, oh, you're so difficult. I don't appreciate you. I just want you out. These are the people that hurt me or that I experience pain around, and I just want them gone, and I want them away, and that's so normal. But if we can ever get to the point of being able to look at each and every person as changing us for the good, whether they're in our lives for a moment or many lifetimes, we'll begin to bless them and release all people to have their experience with us for as long as it takes to get to the good that they're here to bring, right? But that's our internal spiritual assignment. One of the biggest spiritual practices we can have is non-attachment. Non-attachment is that open-heartedness to allow people to flow in and flow through our experiences without trying to hold it in place or push it away. Accepting that this moment is what it is. This relationship is what it is. Whether it's joyful or difficult or something in between, and you're just allowing it to express and give to you whatever it's here to give you. If we can step into that, then our lives become freer, and people are more easily moving in and out with ease. And the other spiritual practice that is so helpful as we're learning non-attachment is radical forgiveness. This relationship is exactly as it should be, so I forgive myself for wanting it to be different, and I forgive the other person for not being what I had hoped they would be, right? And when we combine those two practices, non-attachment and forgiveness, relationships can change us for the good every single time. So as we enjoy this first morning in our new home, I invite you to be like the little girl Lane. You know, rush around into every room and find your favorite spots and go touch the walls that you blessed a few months ago and bless them again. Enjoy your first cup of coffee and your new tables out there and your nibbles and the cakes that Lori got this morning in the new kitchen. You know, and we're in this new spot in town, so let's drive these streets expecting that we're going to run into those people that are going to come and be our friends and sit beside us in this space. We're going to have to get more chairs. I don't know about that. But welcome everything new. Welcome everything new. Be where you are. Lean in. Play big. And just be in this new home. You bless these walls. Now give them your heart. You supplied these chairs. Now let them hold you in transformation. You created this holy ground for yourself, so stand firmly in it. Week after week, month after month, and we can do our work together. But mostly importantly, I invite you to open your hearts. We have attracted to our community and will continue to attract to our community new faces who are looking for their good, yes, but are also bringing good to us. Some will choose to stay and do the work for a long time with us, and some will pass through on their way to something calling them further. And our practices are non-attachment and forgiveness. And I want to remind you of our diversity statement that is on our website. It says this: To grow spiritually, you must feel included. Center for Spiritual Living Tampa Bay celebrates all forms of diversity. Our members create a rich tapestry of all ages, religious backgrounds, ethnicities, and all sexual and gender expressions. Your unique individuality is exactly what we need to be the most magnificent spiritual family in the Tampa Bay area. Come be authentically you with us. So just in case you never get on our website, you know now what we stand for and what our invitation is to you. And maybe I should add the phrase, and you'll be changed for the good, right? So I'll close this morning with the first thing written on the pages of the Science of Mind textbook. May we hold these words today and always in our community hearts. Peace be unto thee, stranger, and enter and be not afraid. I have left the gate open, and thou art welcome to my home. There is room in my house for all. I have swept the hearth and lighted the fire. The room is warm and cheerful, very warm, I might add, and you will find comfort and rest within. The table is laid, and the fruits of life are spread before thee. The wine is also here. It sparkles in the light. I have set a chair for you, where the sunbeams dance through the shade. Sit and rest and refresh your soul. Eat of the fruit and drink the wine. All is yours, and you are welcome. Welcome to your new home, where we can all do our work together. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And so it is.
And so it is.
Yes, you're changing me for good. So if the ushers, Mort, and I guess Lori's going to help too, we got to figure out how to collect the offering in this new space. We have aisles and things. We should have rehearsed. In advance, I thank you for your generosity and your gifts. Your undying support of this ministry is palpable, and evidence is all around you of the generosity in this room. I have this idea that we can be a beacon of light and love in Tampa, and because of your gifts, we can now welcome children into our space. We can have more opportunities to have a wider presence in the community and experience more time together. And because of your gifts, we can offer more classes and social fun and all kinds of things. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So also, I'll remind you to do your connection cards and get those ready for the offering. And before we do the offering, each week we recognize a member of the week to lead us in our conscious giving affirmation and share. So I'm going to call up our member of the week. This week is Susan Clark. Susan is one of the 3 founding members of the community that are still with us. And I chose her specifically today because she's been a part of this congregation for the entire 8 years. She's a practitioner and she supports our community in so many ways. Susan, I just want you to share why you love this community so much and why you give so much of yourself to it, and then read our conscious giving affirmation.
Wow, I'm overwhelmed to be here and to see this large group this morning. It's just wonderful. And I'm like so many other members that have stood up here by saying, when I got to my first Science of Mind church, my life was a mess. And I didn't know what I believed, and I wasn't sure who I was, and I didn't know where I fit. But I had been blessed by having a mystical experience before getting there, where I had been surrounded by the light, just filled with this goodness. And God and I hadn't been on speaking terms for probably 30 years. So this was a time of surrender that Cheryl sang so beautifully about, of I don't know anymore. I just don't know. And I had this mystical experience. And I felt like I was just beaming. I was just shining with the light. And I knew it was from God. but I hadn't been raised in a community that said God was within. I had pictured the God out here. And so I went to my Science of Mind church, and I sat there on the back row so I could escape if it was too strange for a couple of months. But every time I went, I heard something that made my week better. I heard something that I needed to hear. And finally, I took a class. Back then they were called, it was Foundations, now it's Beyond Limits. I heard Lane call it Spirituality 101. It's the foundation, and we were using the Science of Mind textbook, which is a book full of wisdom. But for me, it was not easy reading. And I was working a lot of hours, and I had this thick book to study and go to class. And in class, everybody knew how to talk about God or spirit or source or the universe, and I didn't have that language. I'd been estranged for so long, and I felt like I didn't fit in. And I was trying to read the book, but I was busy at work, and so I'd read it like the day before the class, and I wasn't getting what it said. And after about 4 or 5 weeks, I thought, I don't think this is for me. And I went to class, and there was a practitioner there, and she said, "So how are you enjoying the class?" And I went, "Oh, I'm not enjoying the class. I don't get it. Everybody else gets it, and I don't get it. And they're talking about it, and I just don't feel, I think I'm going to fail this class." And I wasn't used to failing in my life. And she said, "What I know is that you are getting exactly what you are meant to get right now. And if you want to take the class again later, you can, it's okay." And I felt all that pressure that I'd been putting on myself to fit in and be like everybody else and use the same language, they just disappeared. And I knew that I was in the right place. I was being accepted for who I was. And I didn't have to please anybody else. I didn't have to be a certain way. I didn't have to have certain words. And so I knew this was my teaching from that experience. And I can tell you, here at Center for Spiritual Living Tampa Bay, I am so delighted to be here. I'm delighted to be here this morning. I've been delighted since Reverend Lane came. I've been delighted for many years, but this is special because we get to grow and learn together. And it doesn't matter where you're starting. It does not matter because you're hearing exactly what you need to hear, and I believe that. And I get to travel with people who are living these principles. It's one thing to learn them, it's another thing to truly live them and use them every day. And I know that I'm getting better by being here, by giving. It's so exciting to be able to support this community with my time, with my money, with my enthusiasm. And so I think we have an affirmation here that we can say together, do we?
Yeah.
Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive abundantly. And so it is.
And I want to tweak the Member of the Week experience this week. On the cruise, it came to me that I want this relationship to be reciprocal. And after so much positive feedback on this part of the service, I want to take it to another level. So here's what I ask of you. I ask for you to take the Member of the Week into your heart this week. I want you to pay attention to Susan. I want you to pray for her. I literally do. I want you to take her into your prayers, and every time she comes to your mind, know the highest and best for her. No solutions for her, no miracles for her. And Susan, your part is to expect it, is to walk through your life knowing that this family is loving on you. So take it in. So thank you for honoring her with that, and thank you for being a member of the meeting.
I am grateful for my newfound friends,
Yes.
Sally and Vicky doing backup for me this morning.
Yes.
I've done some Here under heaven's eyes, down under paradise, sometimes it seems like we're so small. Here on the shores that reach into infinity, how could we matter much at all? Would it be each of us would give our love like sand on a mountain, rain on a fountain, shade on a shadow, a breeze in this tornado. Just do what you can and clap with one hand and shine all your light in the sun. We live to learn to love. Oh, mercy from above, amazing grace, like rain comes falling down. We sing our hearts to you, a song of gratitude, the voice of every soul. How sweet the sound. We can only trust that all our prayers will all add up like sand on a mountain, rain on a fountain, shade on a shadow, a breeze in this tornado. Just do what you can, clap with one hand and shine all your light in the sun. Just shine. Just shine like sand on a mountain, rain on a fountain, shade on a shadow, a breeze in this tornado. Just do what you can, clap with one hand and shine all your light in the sun. Just do what you can and clap with one hand and shine your light in the sun.
I promise I would not get emotional today. Again, thank you for your offerings and for your blessings of this ministry. I want to call up my practitioners because we finally have a place for them to serve. So please come forward. If you have not been in the back corner, there is a practitioner room where they can have quiet time, where they can pray, where they can do sessions with you, where they can be with you. And they deserve that. They have studied and blessed this community in so many ways. And I am so happy that you all have a space that is yours. That makes me very happy. So they are here for complimentary prayers this morning. please approach them, let them do their job, and know that there's a beautiful place for them to take you. Yeah, that's what I want to say about my practice. I love them so much. And as I mentioned earlier, after we finish the peace song, meet in the fellowship hall. We're going to do the drawing. And we'll have cake, and we will celebrate this beautiful morning. Thank you all for being here. You overwhelm me. I'm so happy to see you all. And guess what? We don't have to stack chairs today. Lori asked me to remind you to please, I think you're supposed to treat your program like a pistachio. You can take all the insides out and then but leave the shell so we don't have to print more of them. And I'll draw your attention to the blue sheet in there. I tried really hard to capture my deepest gratitude to individuals. If I left you out, I apologize. We were trying to think of everyone, but thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please stand and let's do the peace song.